Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into something really quite unusual and pretty confronting, actually. We're talking about the claims of Dr. Katherine Horton. Now, she's an Oxford-trained PhD particle physicist.
Right, which is already, a significant background.
Exactly. And she alleges she's a victim of, well, what she calls psychotronic and EMF attacks.
EMF being electromagnetic frequencies, so influencing the mind or body using frequencies. Is that the idea?
That seems to be the core of it, yeah. And also gang stalking, which is defined as this kind of organized, covert harassment campaign.
Okay.
So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to carefully unpack these claims, look at the alleged nature of the attacks, what she actually says is happening.
And the implications, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even if the technologies are unproven, the claims themselves raise questions.
Definitely. We'll be using excerpts from Dr. Horton's own accounts, her own words. And
Right.
there's also this corroborating story, quite unexpected, actually. Yeah, from a former Navy quartermaster. Adds another layer. So yeah, it's a journey that might challenge some conventional thinking. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit more. Dr. Katherine Horton, highly accomplished physicist, trained at Oxford, specializing in experimental high-energy physics. We're talking research at CERN, that kind of level.
That's right. Very serious credentials.
Yet she's dedicated her YouTube channel, her time, to describing what she calls this campaign of psychotronic and EMF attacks against her.
And it's that contrast, isn't it, between the rigorous scientific background and these, well, extraordinary claims. I mean, she holds a first-class Master's of Physics from Oxford that was 2000-2004, then a PhD in experimental high-energy physics.
Yeah.
She was a research fellow at St. John's College, Oxford, from 2008 to 2012, research at CERN, the German electron synchrotron. These are major institutions.
And she provides proof.
Yeah, she presents written confirmation of her fellowship from St. John's, and she records her testimony under the English Oath Act, 1978, so formally.
So she's standing by these claims very publicly and formally.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it's also maybe notable that unlike some stories you hear about targeted individuals, she doesn't describe hearing voices in her head. That's often a feature, but not in her account, apparently.
Okay. Now here's where it gets really interesting. You mentioned that other story.
Yes, the Navy quartermaster.
Right. We have this personal account, totally separate source, from a former Navy quartermaster. And it feels, well, eerily similar in some ways. This person describes something that happened nearly 20 years ago. They were in a radar room on a guided missile destroyer, heavily equipped ship.
Okay, so connecting this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
what do they experience? Well, they recount being in this tiny radar room, maybe the size of a shower stall, just packed with intense radiological equipment.
So emitting radiation.
Various forms, yeah. Standard for radar systems, but very powerful stuff concentrated in a small space.
Yeah.
And when it was switched on, they felt a buzzing in their head. Described it as a noise in the center of my brain. And their brain felt like it was quivering like jelly.
Wow. That's incredibly specific.
It is. And they're clear. They say it wasn't like a particle beam or anything they recognized, but the sensation felt remarkably similar to what victims of these alleged psychotronic attacks describe.
And this wasn't a one-off.
Apparently not. They've had similar feelings since then, always near military bases. And interestingly, they even briefly heard voices on one occasion. The feeling was like they just sort of stumbled into the path of some kind of beam, but weren't the actual target, just accidentally intersected it.
That physical, palpable sensation, it's quite striking, as you said, really makes you pause. Absolutely. It's vivid. And it makes you think about, well, what could cause such things, even if we don't have proof? So let's look at the scope. Who are the alleged targets here? According to our sources, it's not just one type of person.
Right. The narrator, the quartermaster, suggests victims come from, quote, all echelons of society.
From the poorest people, total nobodies, their words, right up to the extremely affluent.
But interestingly, they specifically note it doesn't seem to happen to famous people or politicians.
Which is odd, isn't it? If it were strategic or political, you'd expect maybe different targets.
Exactly. It raises that question. If not that, then why? What's the motive? The narrator speculates, suggests it seems more like an experiment, or maybe just to see what they can get away with. Testing boundaries, perhaps.
And the really concerning part is the alleged lack of recourse, that feeling of helplessness.
Yeah, the quote is chilling. Nothing you can do because no one believes you. And the claim goes further that the very people who should protect you, the authorities, are somehow involved, or at least complicit, that the police would just laugh you straight out.
That sense of total isolation, being disbelieved by everyone, it's a recurring theme.
It really is. That perceived abandonment by official channels seems key.
And you see that reflected in Dr. Horton's own story. It suggests a really systematic effort to derail her life, piece by piece.
How so?
Well, after her high-level physics work, she shifted focus, started looking into what she called the physics of human systems while still at Oxford. Then she moved to Germany, this was autumn 2012, tried to launch a startup. It was aimed at helping foreigners integrate into the job market there.
Okay, a practical application of systems thinking, maybe.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
But she claims this whole thing, the entire endeavor, was sabotaged systematically. Constant harassment making it, quote, essentially impossible to continue.
For how long?
For the 2 years she tried. Just constant obstacles, she says.
Wow. And did it stop there? No, that's where the alleged escalation comes in.
Yeah.
After that startup failed, around the end of 2014, she did a brief stint in wealth management.
Okay.
But her real passion, she says, was improving complex systems. So she went back to private research, systems analysis, launched a consultancy in Switzerland.
And again.
Again, she reports being sabotaged, disrupted. But then it apparently ramped up significantly.
Yeah.
She claims she started being physically assaulted hourly from January 2016 onwards, making her work literally impossible.
Assaulted hourly. Physically? How?
She describes it in terms of the EMF effects we mentioned. Pain, physical sensations, constantly.
Right, and this extreme pressure, this constant alleged assault, led her to seek legal help. She described the attacks as getting ever more insane.
So it went from professional interference to, in her account, direct, constant physical torment.
That's the narrative, yes. A pretty terrifying escalation. And to cope with these alleged hourly assaults, I mean, the measures she takes are quite extreme.
What does she do?
She describes sitting inside an aluminum bunker at home, literally shielding herself because the pain from the alleged attacks is unbearable otherwise.
An aluminum bunker inside her home.
Yeah. And she uses equipment to try and document this. An EM Fields Acoustic 2 electromag detector.
Okay, what does that do?
It measures electromagnetic radiation, similar to Wi-Fi or phone signals, but often at much higher frequencies or intensities. This specific one measures between 200 megahertz and 8 gigahertz.
That's a pretty wide range. Covers radio waves up through some microwave.
Right. And she uses it, she says, to show these constant bursts on the meter, and claims these bursts directly correlate with her pain perception. When the meter spikes, she feels pain.
So she's trying to gather objective data or what looks like it.
Yeah, these specific details, they do paint a clearer picture of the alleged attacks from her perspective. The detector reads in volts per meter, that's the standard unit for electric field strength. And it has a non-linear scale, meaning spikes can represent very large increases.
And she sees these intense, sharp bursts.
Yes. And she notes something interesting. She says the attacks often seem to decrease. The readings go down right when she starts speaking, like during her recordings.
As if they know she's documenting.
That's the implication she draws. She also describes other types of attack modes, not just bursts.
She mentions diffuse microwaving. Says it doesn't create those sharp spikes, but manifests differently, as a metal scratching sound.
Sound.
Yeah, correlated with joint aches and skin burning. She says it sounds like crumpled bubble wrap or aluminum foil.
Okay. That's very specific again.
And also, unpleasant pulses to the head when she's trying to work. Feels like a literal pulse that, quote, literally just knocks you, accompanied by intense heat.
God, that sounds awful. And the bunker isn't enough?
Apparently not always, or for everything. She also uses military-grade aluminum shielding panels. Tries to block what she calls pencil beams coming from neighbors' property.
Pencil beams.
Yeah, describes them as pulsed, which she says makes them harder to detect with standard equipment. And a tiny, about the size of a pound coin, she said these attacks are absolutely brutal.
It's an extraordinary level of detail, isn't it? The detectors, the specific sensations, the shielding.
It is. And then there's one final detail you mentioned in the outline, something about a company.
Ah, right. This adds another layer of, well, intrigue, I suppose. Dr. Horton apparently advised people to Google a specific company called Applied Energetics.
Applied Energetics, okay.
And a specific type of laser weapon associated with them. Our other source, the narrator, actually tried this. Use DuckDuckGo, for privacy.
And what did they find?
They described the search results, or lack thereof, as rather shocking. Said it gave the impression that, quote, they're actively trying to hide this technology from us.
So difficulty finding information on this specific company and technology leading to suspicion.
Exactly. It just adds to that overall feeling of something hidden, something potentially powerful being kept under wraps. Makes you wonder.
So this whole deep dive, it really has explored a highly unusual and, frankly, deeply concerning set of claims.
Definitely.
You have the consistency of Dr. Horton's accounts, which are very detailed, and her background, that rigorous scientific training. It's hard to just dismiss.
Right. And then you add in that corroborating experience from a completely different source, the Navy quartermaster.
Exactly. It does challenge our sort of conventional understanding of what technology might be capable of, or what covert operations might look like.
If any of this is even partially true.
Precisely. And it raises that big question. What kind of technologies might exist, perhaps classified, perhaps just emerging, that could produce effects like the ones described? And maybe even more importantly, what are the societal implications? If these claims, even though they are unproven, highlight a massive gap in accountability, or just in public awareness about what might be possible.
It truly leaves you wondering, doesn't it? I mean,
Right.
try to put yourself in Dr. Horton's shoes for a moment, allegedly experiencing these attacks daily, seeing your life systematically sabotaged, as she claims.
And feeling completely unheard, disbelieved.
Yeah. And what does it say about, I don't know, the information landscape we all navigate? If claims from someone with such a credible scientific background are just dismissed, or not investigated seriously.
It's a difficult balance. Skepticism is healthy, essential even in science, but complete dismissal without investigation. Where does that leave people who might genuinely be experiencing something outside the norm?
We've really only scratched the surface here, obviously.
Yeah.
But it certainly gives you a lot to mull over. What stands out most to why you, thinking back on all this,